If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles, said Sun Tzu. And it is showing actually Saturn in Aries. So it's going to show the Martian strategy. But together with Saturn over here, they are unstoppable. Sun Tzu also said victory comes from finding opportunities in problems, because in areas which is very bold energy, Saturn going to go through and cut through of any kind of limitation, no matter what. And Franklin Roosevelt said, there is no courage without fears, which is also showing, like Saturn is fear, but Aries, ruled by Mars, is courage, courage to grow. Together, they are going to conquer any kind of fear and going to win any kind of battle. So Saturn enters Aries on May 24th, 2025. Then it's going to turn retrograde, and September 1st, 2025, it's going to retrograde back to Pisces. And on February 13th, 2026, Saturn going to enter Aries for 2.5 years, 2 years, because it's gonna enter Taurus 2028, April 12th. All right, guys, we're going to talk about Saturn in Aries. And if you don't know me, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe, like, and comment below, and allow me to grow my channel and help you with my predictions and with my readings. This is Cosmic Insight Astrology. I am your co-pilot, Krisztina. I'm here to help you to manage any kind of challenge by planetary energies. And, also perhaps if you would like to take an advantage on the positive energies of the planetary aspects and transit, then I'm also here actually to tell you how to. All right, let's start. And we're going to start with Saturn in the signs, and actually the exaltation and the essential dignity of Saturn I want to talk about. So Saturn rules Capricorn, and Capricorn rules the 10th house, career, reputation, public image. And, also rules Aquarius in the 11th house. 11th house, your hopes and wishes. That is also your network, your friendship zone. That is also money from your career. Over here, in Aquarius, Saturn is the traditional ruler, but it co-rules with Uranus. And Saturn is exalted in Libra. So it's exalted because it brings order, justice, and accountability into harmony and balance. And it's in detriment in Cancer. It struggles over here, struggles with emotion and nurturing and softness. I have actually Saturn in 14 degrees on Sirius in Cancer. So it is struggling with softness for sure. And Saturn wants boundaries, not baby blankets, not wet blankets, right? And it's in fall in Aries. It's very impulsive, impatient, hot-headed, because Aries is hot-headed and Saturn get that kind of vibe from Aries. But, Saturn actually is slow and disciplined. And in Aries, it's going to bring that kind of issue over here because Saturn is the break in astrology, and Aries, ruled by Mars, is the speed. Aries and Mars, because Aries ruled by Mars, right, is the soldier. Saturn is the general. So it's almost like the soldier is telling the general, I'm not going to listen your rules kind of situation happening over here. And I also wanted to talk about Saturn actually in planetary joy in the 12th house as well. So, all right, we talked about exaltation. So let's talk about some kind of keywords of Saturn over here. Saturn is authority, Saturn is discipline, responsibility, structure, boundaries, mastery, but also limitation as well, delay, decay, time and karma, maturity, restriction, endurance, and fear. Before they actually found Pluto, not found, discovered Pluto, Saturn was also representing death. And in Vedic astrology, Saturn still really feared because of death as well. But Saturn is also commitment and hard work and discipline and control. Anything to do with law and delays, achievement, self sufficiency, boundaries, repression, consequences. Saturn also rules old age and the ruler itself, the government, Saturn is your willpower, a test, anything to do with practicality and tradition, also delayed gratification. Saturn is authority, figures, obligation, your status quo, system, construction, and minimalism as well. And Saturn could be actually a little bit creative also. And the creative expression of Saturn is self mastery, strategic planning, long term success, emotional regulation, realistic ambition, anything to do with loyalty and commitment, wisdom through life experience. It's very, very important. Practical leadership, humble service, resilience, legacy building, and mentorship as well. But Saturn, when it's really destructive and expressing the shadow side of himself, it could be very, very cold and detached and, some kind of emotional suppression. I told you it could be in Cancer, for example, emotional suppression. And also, it is something to do with harsh self-criticism as well, pessimism. Saturn could be very, very pessimistic in Cancer, for example, and judgmental attitude, workaholism. Also, anything to do with fear-based decision, guilt-driven performance, controlling others, for example, avoidance of intimacy, chronic rigidity, cynicism as well, and burnout from over responsibility. The gospel of karma wrapped in iron chains, delivered with, cracked concrete. So that is the temple of Saturn when it's destructive energy. And let's talk about who the heck is Saturn and, anything to do with the myth, the force behind Saturn. Saturn in Roman mythology is Saturn is the name in Roman mythology, and in Greek mythology, it's Kronos, right? And Saturn was the father of Jupiter, Neptune, Pluto, and he birthed the entire, like cosmos, exactly. And then he tried to eat them. You know the myth behind it, right? But Jupiter was the only one actually who escaped and eventually let the other children who Saturn ate go. And why did he want to get rid of them over all of the kids? Because actually Saturn was told that one of his kids would overthrow him. And guess what's happened? Jupiter did so. Jupiter overthrew Saturn, right? And we will see during this Saturn in Aries, at the beginning, it's going to do a square with Jupiter, with the Sun, because Jupiter gonna go in Cancer, and we will talk about that a little bit as well, right? So, yes, Saturn actually swallowed all his children. And, it could be actually some kind of, because in medical astrology, for example, Saturn in Cancer also could be some kind of stomach issue. And I was wondering, maybe because you ate all your children, you decided to eat them, maybe that's why, Saturn could bring then kind of issue in medical astrology in Cancer. So, what is Saturn's job in astrology? Saturn is here to build. So, for example, Saturn is your karmic tax collector, the spiritual probation officer, right? And he is asking you, you think you want freedom? Let's see if you can handle responsibility first. So yes, he does rule. So he is Kronos in Greek mythology, and he does rule watches and time and boundaries. Saturn really need boundaries, guys, and authority, karma. And in medical astrology, it rules actually bone, skin, aging, and chronic pain as well. But it also rules guilt and shame. And Saturn is growth from and through suffering. All right. Um, Hard earned wisdom. Saturn is the patriarch, um, and also the father's wound as well. And we were talking about the discipline and the delayed gratification, but don't fear Saturn, because Saturn, if it goes any kind of sign or houses, it's always going to give you a gift if you don't leap any steps. If you are having a strong work ethic, you're working hard, then it's going to give you a gift when it leaves, right? So right now it's gonna leave Pisces soon, and it's gonna bring you in your Pisces real estate in your chart. For example, I am Sagittarius rising, so I have Pisces in my fourth house. And fourth house is anything to do with real estate and my family. So over there, it has to bring me a beautiful gift. Hmm. So if we are talking about Saturn's aesthetic, Saturn is actually the concrete monastery, because Saturn is cold and heavy brick stones, right? Anything to do with black turtlenecks, people who likes black or brown kind of colors and dated, for example. Nothing fancy in it, nothing, like anything what would say something about fashion at all. And also, it is the clock ticking loudly in the therapist office when you are going to your psychologist, and you are watching the clock on the wall when the session is going to be over. Uh, and it is an old man maybe with how do you call that? What you lean on to, like forget that. You hold on to that kind of stick. Oh my God, Santa Claus has it as well. Okay, I just forget that. Okay, ancient stones, bone jewelry. All right. And Saturn is really minimalist. Also, if you want to build an altar or anything, Saturn is, for example, Saturn perfectly burned candles. Saturn kind of candles not going to leave any wax in it. It's not going to waste. Saturn never wastes. There is no excuses. There is cold ice. And also, who is Saturn favorite people? You know who is Saturn favorite people, guys? The one who got sober and showed up every single damn day. The single mother who raised 3 kids while working 2 free jobs. The old man who never missed a work day, even when they were sick during 30 years of work. And the man who worked in one job over 40 years and get retired from there. The artist who kept painting even when no one gave a damn, or that is usually the starving artist who become, famous after their death. The soldier of love who kept choosing growth over escape. And the shadow work of Saturn's actually daddy issues wrapped in loyalty, saying, I don't need anyone, and crying in the shower. It's very hard for Saturn to accept any kind of help. Someone who is like workaholic, all right, and controlled mask as responsibility, but that is just control issue, and also fear of failure and judgment as well. um, so that's who he is, staying in that marriage, or that job or that dreams because of commitment. I mean, Saturn actually reminds me some Italian people, they would never divorce. Some of the older Italian generation, and we were actually. My husband works for Italians, and that couple never actually divorced, and they didn't even eat at the same table. And it was so funny for me, like they were desperate, but just because of the Italian, and they got married in a church or whatever, they never divorced. But obviously, their marriage was over like 30 years ago. They didn't talk nothing, but that is Saturn, actually, a married couple who never sleeps in the same bed and never eat at the same table. And we also have to talk about Saturn returns. Saturn is taking 28 to 30 years to go around all the zodiacal cycles. All right, guys? So Saturn is actually a social planet with Jupiter. All right. So Saturn is actually the fence, the boundaries between the inner planet and the outer planets, right? And it does return to the same sign, for example, to Pisces every 29 to 30 years. And that's what we call for Saturn return. And, if you experienced already your first Saturn return, then you must be over 30 years old because it's happening between 28 and 30. And Saturn over here going to say, okay, Dan, you are not a child anymore, grow up, all right? Doesn't matter if you just grow up one day to another or you break down, but it's going to be a huge shift over here. Usually people get married and, they already going through the first divorce or get a really, really powerful job during this time. And the second Saturn return is actually between 58 and 60. And the third Saturn return, if you are very lucky, then you are capable actually to have the third Saturn return around, 84, I believe so. So the Saturn return over here, it says, you are not dead yet. And you have to live with purpose and try to mend all the relationship. Because if you want, and you will not have purpose, then you will rust everything away. These are not bad years. They are soul midwives for your real life, all right? So it is just like, okay, if you did have some kind of illusion, it's going to rip off your face, like, okay, this is the time when you have to reflect. And the very first time when you're going to see a lot of wrinkles and regrets and maybe even glory, but you have to mend relationship. You have to tie up things over here. And we're also going to talk about the elements because, Saturn by elements, for example, Saturn in Earth, which is Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Over here, it's really very slow building and, material mastery. In water sign, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And don't forget, in Cancer, it's in detriment, right? And in Earth, in Capricorn, it's in rulership. So Cancer, it's in detriment, and it is anything to do with ancestral grief, anything to do with karmic debt. And actually, Saturn, I was just teaching a workshop, guys. You can buy that. You can reach out to me, and it's almost 12 hours. Everything about Saturn, and it's coming with a 300 pages of PDF and 150 slideshows, and you're going to learn how to pay off your karmic debts and how to actually rewire your life and to have a better life in this lifetime. But we're talking about about Saturn through each element, each sign, and the way you might have died in your previous life, and how can you pay forward also. So yeah, so over here in water sign, it is emotional fortress. And in air signs, Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius, and don't forget, in Aquarius, it's actually Taurus with Uranus, but the ancient avatar of Aquarius, and in Libra, Saturn is exalted. We were talking about that. So there is over here everything to do with social duties, anything to do with ideological backbones and also mental pressures as well. And in fire sign, Aries and Leo and Sagittarius in Aries, it's actually in fall. It's burnout, right? It's self-mastery, but how will you actually create that self-mastery? Because you overworked, or you were, like you were really courageous and pushy, and you have a lot of strain over here, but mostly it is burnt out over here. And we were talking about that, what Saturn rules. Saturn also rules the bone and teeth, right? That is the structure, the skin, which is the boundary itself, the knees, and the knees are humility. If you have seen the Eastern Promises, and that is actually about the Russian mafia guys, and they had the star, a 5-star on the knee, the mafia leaders, because they never need in front of anyone, and they would rather die than bend or knee in front of anyone. So humility, right? The knees are humility. And also, aging as well, because Saturn is aging. And by the way, Saturn also chronic illnesses, right? Which going to demand deep responsibility if you want to bypass or if you want to heal that chronic illness, right? Paying off the karma. And for example, in ancient Rome, Saturnalia was the festival of reversal when slaves and masters switched places. Why? Because Saturn actually understands duality. The one who oppresses may one day serve. The one who suffers may one day rule. Never forget that, guys. The cards are turning, the tables are turning all the time. So that is giving me a lot of hope. But in magic, for example, Saturn used for banishing and protection, also binding and boundary work contracts. And if you believe it or not, but curses as well. In real life, it is anything to do with bureaucracy, your boss, your bones, what's aching, for example, during a full moon, and your gut telling you, take responsibility, even, if it is not your fault, just take the responsibility right now and move on. It is almost like a plea, like I'm going to plead guilty just to even if I haven't done it, because of otherwise this is going to bring me actually less punishment than if I would fight for myself, kind of situation. And Saturn's archetype, he's not evil, but he's kind of karmic sacred container. Okay, it is the master mansion, all right, not necessarily the punisher, the father who teaches you to build a house, not the one who hugs you while you cry about it. Or he doesn't give you fish, he gives you fishing rods. And, a lot of time I've been asked, what do I think about Jesus Christ? Because he was born on Capricorn. It was December 24th, which is already Capricorn era. And, everybody says, how can Jesus Christ be Saturn ruled? And he could, because, come on, Saturn is fasting, and Jesus Christ was fasting for 40 days. Who else could do that? Just like, it has to be a Capricorn. But I truly believe Jesus Christ had a Sagittarius rising and the Pisces moon, because he loved to teach, and also he was very compassionate as well. But definitely Capricorn sun. So, just as I said, he doesn't give you the fish, he gives you the fishing rod, okay? And already show you the river and tells you, how to fish, or shows you how to fish. Or tells you, you have to be responsible because winter is coming, and things like that. All right, so what is Saturn in Aries? The discipline of the warrior, the wound of self, right? The fire that must be forged. This Saturn actually, it's in fall what we were talking. already. It's exhausted. Saturn is very uncomfortable, raging at the lack of control because Saturn likes to control, and Aries is really, really bullhead and just, just very, very bold and taking actions right away without thinking. And Saturn likes to take time to think. So absolutely over here, it's like, you know, uh, until Saturn says, hey, let's wait. Aries says, no, 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 can we go? Can we go? Can we do it already? Aries always acts on impulse. And Saturn is like, but where is the 5-year plan? Come on, sit down. And Aries is the charger, and Saturn doubting everything. Aries screams, but Saturn going to build a wall and, not even going to say a word, just using the inside voice, even if it need to scream. Um, Here it could be also the warrior monk, because we will see actually, and I was talking about that a long time already. 2025 going to be the time when the Pope going to do the transition, and if you see the news right now, he's ill, and most likely by the time Saturn goes to Aries, May 24th, he will actually pass. But I keep saying that over 2 years in each video of mine, so you have the proof over there. And it's going to actually change the structure of the Catholic Church as well somehow. All right. So yeah, but when Saturn meet Mars, because we also have to talk about Mars a little bit and the Aries archetype as well to understand the mundane astrology, what is going to happen. And I also going to talk a little bit of history for you guys, because if you are checking history, because every single planetary movement is like repeating, because of the energy, it's repeat itself. So that's why we need to talk about history. So whenever you brainstorm, how can it unfold for us the next 3 years, like you are capable to create and have a better prediction. All right. And, if you think I left out something, just comment below, let me know what's going on and where is Saturn going for you. I want to hear about you guys. That's how I learn as well. So, for example, Mars, Mars, anything to do with instinct, desires, aggression, courage, blood, assertion, and conflict. And, Saturn is the mastery, the suppression, responsibility, pressure. And together they can do something like martial artist who trains in silence for decades. Or it could be the soldier who follows a sacred code, for example, the burnout warrior who can't stop fighting shadows, the rage repressed child turned into a controlfic adult, right? Okay, so this is not a soft energy, guys. Okay, that is some kind of sacred scar tissue for us. And because of Mars directly rules the blood and the wound itself, and Saturn could be the one who creates the wound. And Mars also the sword itself. So Saturn is because old and chronic. That's why it is the sacred scar tissue for us. And when we going to check the mythology of Mars, Mars is in Roman mythology and Aries in Greek mythology, and it is the god of war, violence, and passion, that kind of raw instinct, raw violence and passion. Sometimes it wants to hurt us. Okay. And Aries wasn't always honored. He was feared because he was unpredictable, especially in Babylonian mythology and astrology, and also, in Vedic, Aries is and Mars is really, really feared because he charged first and thought later, absolutely not thinking before it speaks. So it could be an issue and, has some kind of bloodlust and not strategy, rage as well. And so when Saturn going to enter Aries territory, right, he's entering the temple of the eternal teenager with a sword. And he has to say it over here, discipline your rage, or it will turn against you, it will discipline you. So Saturn over here, definitely, but because Mars is very fiery and, it could actually burn Saturn and it could actually create a lot of issue for the Saturnian energy and take Saturn values away. And actually, it could manifest the shadow side of Saturn, unfortunately. And, we also have to say the connection with the first house because Aries rules the first house and it rules. Mars rules the first house and it rules Aries in the first house, right? So the first has anything to do with you. That is your body, your personality, the mask you wear, okay? Anything to do with your will, the survivor instinct as well. The mask in that is the way you are representing yourself and representing your company, all right? It is also the country self identity as well. Uh, and Saturn over here is heavy. It is also the body going to actually go through some kind of pain in the first house. Whenever I had Saturn in the first house, when it was in Sagittarius, I had a lot of teeth pain and I needed to do implants and a lot of backache. So I really suffered from Saturn being in my first house, but I also lost a lot of weight because Saturn in the first house, it could actually discipline you, whatever you eat, even in the second house as well, because second house, it's not only financial struggle, but we're going to talk about that when I'm going to talk about each individual signs, right? So yeah, it is also, you're going to definitely have some kind of responsibility, or the people going to see you like a warrior, master of the warrior, someone who has a lot of scars, but became wiser and older through those scars, and it is a totally different, responsible reality in your life. So yes, Saturn in Aries, I don't need anyone, okay? Says that, but until it's going to crash. So also feeling unseen unless you are doing something hard. So you almost like punish yourself. I have to work very, very hard, to be seen. And it could be also some kind of rage turned inward, some kind of chronic tension and bone pain, as I said, because that's what I experienced before. It is the warrior wound, but it could be actually a true warrior wound for some of who are in actually soldiers. And we're gonna talk about the mundane astrology over here because when I was getting ready for this video, I was like, yeah, that it's gonna be a lot of, like martyrs and actually soldiers turning against, you know, the what is that? The capital, not the capital, but against the rulers, actually, the government. So we will see that, and. You're also going to feel like you were born to fight, but you just don't know how to, some kind of thing. And there could be also some kind of hesitation and some kind of deep fear of failure, right? And that's why you're going to hesitate. And then you're going to lose momentum. So we really have to be careful over here because this is the theme of Saturn in Aries. And we will need to focus on and learn how to channel fire through focus and not to force things. Very, very important. Mars wants to force things and not to force things. Becoming a silent leader, all right? Someone who doesn't copy anyone. Maybe you never will be understood, by the public, but definitely someone who is leading with wisdom and building strength slowly, uh, as well. So yeah, it is a lot of battles over here, but battles it is inside in us, and people not necessarily seen it. So the shadow gift of Saturn Aries. I told you guys, Saturn always going to give a gift before it leaves a sign. So the gift is the mastery of instinct and embodied courage and soul-forged independence and sacred willpower. That is actually the elder warrior archetype, right? Like a monk. All right. And what is the shadow over here? Suppressed anger, fear of actions, imposter syndrome in leadership, pain around visibility and self-worth, and over-compassion through perfectionism or competition. So how are we going to work with it? We can actually learn, body-based therapies, anything to do with capoeira, some kind of martial art actually could be really good. And because Saturn is slow, I would say Tai Chi or capoeira, some kind of rituals where we can channel or anger, right? And strength training, working with weights, right? And we also going to have to learn how to pause as well. And we have to lead even if our voice going to shake, especially when our voice going to shake. I have that many times lately because I got, like sometimes I told you guys, sometimes I feel, should I continue or not? My channel is not growing as I wanted to. And, I'm taking a lot of time to preparing videos and doing everything on my own. So many times when I getting backlashes by people about in my previous video, I told you guys how I get actually because of my compassion trashed. And sometimes then I feel like, all right, maybe I just should go to the beach instead and just don't do anything. But unfortunately, I have that kind of drive inside me. And many times, even the boys tell me, if you can only help one person a day, mom, this is enough. This is a purpose. So just keep doing. So I haven't give it up yet. But all right. So on the other hand, I wanted to also talk numerology and the tarot card as well, because I'm gonna bring that in. I wanted to make this very interesting, and I was like, okay, South Node actually is in Virgo in my 10th house, so I need to actually change the way I represent myself on social media and the way I built up every kind of videos for you guys. And I was like, okay, I still going to stay with the quotes as well because I love quoting and because I always read or, listening podcast and movies. So I like quoting. I'm the queen of the quotes. But on the other hand, I was like, all right, so I have to be more funny. And even when I deliver the truth, and even if the truth is painful, because I want to stay authentic and I don't want to lie to you guys. So to get ready to the shitstorm when it's, shitstorm coming. But on the other hand, if we are not laughing about our own mistakes and whatever surrounding us, then life could be really miserable. So I rather actually to do a little bit of stand-up comedy with astrology. Maybe perhaps I'm going to do some kind of different approach over here. But all right, so what you have to do and how you have to work with it, you have to master your impulses as well. And also, you have to expect the timing, the divine timing. Because if something is delayed, Saturn is actually, it's almost like Yoda over here, like patience, my young Pagadon, and everything is delayed, but anyway, you need to stay still and be patient and wait the current to come in, right? And in numerology, Saturn is actually the number 8. And the number 8 I love because it's eternity for me, infinity. And I told you guys my favorite series is The Revenge, and there is the double infinity symbol. And actually, I created a triple infinity symbol. It's almost like 8, but because I wrote a children's book and it's not published yet because I have issue with publisher. So I know I'm going to self-publish everything, but because of I have a formatting software which is so slow and I do so many things, it's like takes eternity. I have like 5 or 6 books ready to be published. I just need to format it, and it takes like I don't know months for me to format. I already know how on Canva and other softwares to do the, the pictures, and I have everything. Just formatting is very slow for me. But this children book is Green Grace Glory, the Queen of the Green. Actually, it's about herbalism, medical marijuana, how to heal chronic illnesses for children. All right, okay. So green, grace, glory, GGG. It's almost like when you write it down, it's almost like a number 8. So That is my triple infinity sign over there. And I might even going to do some kind of necklace from it or whatever I wanted to. So I really love it. So, the 8 actually says over here, what you sow, you will reap. Because why? Because Saturn is karma, guys. So that is definitely what it says over here. But only if you plant the damn field, right? Water, and you have to water it daily. All right. And don't cry when you're going to get sunburn. All right. So that is that kind of very, very mastery, endurance, and legacy and power with consequences, for example, right? Manifestations through discipline, death and rebirth through control. That is 8. That is the number 8 in numerology. All right. It is burn for it, bleed for it, but build it anyway. Never give up. And Saturn in tarot card is the word, all right, and that is the 21 card 21, and anything to do with integration, anything to do with rewards, mastery after trial, boundaries, but the boundary is going to elevate your spirit. Wholeness is earned through boundaries. Becoming a living symbol of all you have survived, completion as well. That is the word card, sacred, but smiling warrior, okay, who is standing in barefoot on earth and saying, this is my kingdom. I build this with fire, bone, and will. All right. And what else? What is Saturn in Aries archetype? The sword made from their own trauma, a crown earned from countless small deaths, a spine of obsidian and ritual, hands that tremble but never drop the torch. That is Saturn in Aries, okay? All right. And who are they? The survivor who turned to be a leader, the one who burned down their childhood narrative and rewrote it with a sacred ink, the one who refused to be defined by pain, but also never denied it. That is the archetype. That's what they have, and that's who they are. All right. So how is it going to activate us? Saturn in Aries, we may going to destroy our identity, all right? Because it was built on other people expectations. And right now we are, no, we want to be authentic. We can learn self-defense. And we can learn it literally or emotionally as well, but definitely it will be a lot of self-defense. And it could be like, like whoever fail, going to rise, but it's going to be some kind of rising with legacy. It could be also like, all right, we are wrestling with guilt or shame or resentment, like, oh, too much or too loud, we are being too much or too loud kind of situation. But we also could become responsible rebels. We can actually lead some kind of revolutions, and because the US going to have Uranus return, and Uranus also goes to Gemini, that's what we're going to see, awakening the youth, and the youth going to become rebellion. And Saturn in Aries also young soldiers, who can turn against the corrupt government. All right, so that's what it is. Okay, so we might going to age faster, but I would think like not necessarily age faster. It could be like aligned with our purpose or become more wise and in generational as well. It could be also like we going to break a lot of chain with generational trauma or generational chains as well. And we're going to rage a lot, and we want to allow ourselves to express actually the rage until we are going to be capable to to turn that into a weapon of love. All right, so in what I wanted to tell you guys, and I put that on that slide while I'm talking, the dates for Saturn in Aries, right? So as I said, every 28, 29, 30 years, we have a return of the same signs, and it usually stays there 2.5, 3 years, okay? And when it happened before, it was April 25th till 1937 till, wait a minute. Yes, till actually 1940. And after that, it's happened from 1967 till 1969. And then it's happened 1996 till 1999. And right now it's going to happen from 2025 till 2028. All right. And, to always when an outer planet or a social planet changing sign, and even if Venus changing sign, we can go back to history. I always do a lot of, researches what's happened in history before, because that's how I know what kind of energy going to, for example, unfold during this time. So, for example, the very first one that I want to mention over here, it was 1908 and 1911. And that's when we had the birth of organized justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, for example, right? It is some kind of Aries over here takes action, but something to do with structural actions, right? And then we also had between 1909 and 1911, the Middle Eastern turmoil. Okay, that was something to do with the Pope transition as well, right? And there was some kind of conservative reforms and opposition to modernist in Catholic Church and with the Catholic doctrine as well. And it faced increasing tension with the church. And his papacy emphasized discipline and the return to traditional values. And actually, it was Pope Pius X. And also, there was the Ottoman Empire was struggling, and there was the Young Turk Revolution in 1908 as well. And I was hearing from Tomeska, and thank you so much to letting me know. It's only 20,000 people who are unhappy in Turkey, but it could bring in some kind of new revolution, some kind of issue in Turkey as well, because we had that before, and we have to always see what kind of countries were actually under some kind of influence, even with earthquake or things like that. Okay, why do we talk about earthquake when we talk about Saturn? Because Saturn co-rules Aquarius with Uranus. So obviously, Saturn is also delays and decay and death, right? We were talking about death, and it could bring in a massive death, for example, from war as well. But, we're going to actually talk about that later. So, all right. So also there was in the second one that was between 1937 and 40, there was the ATF, the Federal Firearm Act, actually, June 30, 1938, because Saturn demanded control over here and leading the first gun licenses. All right. So it could be like, are you felon? Sorry. All right. Guns not for you. And hopefully we're going to have that right now in the States, and we're going to check mental illness and the age of the children, because there is a lot of youth who are battered and mentally ill, and that's massive shooting coming from that. Also it was some kind of Supreme Court upheld some kind of firearm regulation as well, right, in the United States. So that is Saturnian restrictive energy, all right? You might not going to have your beloved weapon over there. In 1937 and 39, we also had a global conflict. We had the Spanish Civil War as well, all right? clash of the ideologies, right? And we also had the Middle Eastern unrest, all right, the Arab revolt in Palestine. And then it was an escalating tension over here. So that was struggle over land, identity, and authority. So we're going to see that in the Middle East, the war is not over, unfortunately. I told you guys, I told you when it was the ceasefire, right away I made a video and I said, yes, the Ukrainian conflict might going to be resolved when Mars gonna get out from Cancer finally, but definitely the Middle Eastern conflict not, and it could actually become bigger. So we also had that kind of what else we did have? Yes, actually we did have in 1967 and 1969, we did have the Six-Day War, right? It was Jordan, Syria, Egypt, and Israel aggression because of boundaries, right? And in this war, actually, Israel gained territories over here. And then we did have a Catholic Church reform as well, the Second Vatican Council. I'm telling you guys, the Pope is going to begin and we're going to have a major reform there. And then we also had some kind of environmental awakening because of Santa Barbara Old Spill. But you know, guys, because of Saturn is government and Aries is drilling. And you know, when Trump loves oil and that into office, he was like either fight, 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 or drill, 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 baby. That was his slogan. That is his slogan. So obviously, because we also have Saturn in Pisces gonna go back as well. I told you guys, Saturn in Pisces is always some kind of oil spilling and some kind of, you know, I don't know, sinking cruise ships, and not cruise ships, but big boats as well. And some of them it's happening, and it happened during the 2 years I was doing my research. So multiple big boats sink, but that's what it is in drilling. And you know, when it's going to go back in Pisces, it could create death of the mammals and the ocean animals, unfortunately. In that same time, no, actually, 1996 and 99, we also had in UK's the firearm ban as well, and Australia's gun buyback. Because when I went to Australia, there was the Port Arthur massacre we were learned about. So we went over there 12 years ago, and we went to Port Arthur, and we saw the place where the massacre was actually. And yes, they bought back the guns, and you know, that is going to showing Saturn restrictive influence, right? And also, it was some kind of national instant criminal background check by the FBI as well in the US. So as I said, there will be some kind of boundaries in with firearms even for the US. And we did have a huge European heat wave in 1998, guys. And Saturn was in Aries. And you know, Aries is everything to heat and fire, and Saturn is death and, you know, like anything to do with challenges. And, you know, for example, not to have natural resources because of the heat. And it could be like, all right, we're not going to have fruits or certain fruits because of the heat. And we are not capable to water, for example, or fields. And also the Kosovo War was between 1998 and 1999. I really, really remember this one. Ethnic tension, you know, oh my God, that was very, very hard. And it was hard to watch, and it was very scary for us. And then what else happened? So also, I don't know if I want to say anything about history anymore. I don't think so. No, I'm going to actually go to mundane astrology, and I'm gonna talk about how it can work out for us, you know. So, for example, there was actually, because we're going to talk about weather over here and heat waves as well, and droughts as well, and climatic disruption, anything to do with, fires as well. And then in 1997 and 1998, there was, oh, by the way, I forgot to talk about Mother Teresa's death in 1997, September 5th. And that's why I know, the Pope also, like ready to go right now, or someone who is very religious as well. But then it was also the El Nino phenomenon, like in 1997 and 1999, and it brought in droughts. And wherever Saturn goes, it's sucky dry, guys. So it could be like some kind of huge drought and deforestation, or it could be something to do with desertation as well. All right, and it could be also because Aries is, aggression, and Mars and Saturn is restriction and borders as well. So there will be something with countries reinforce or going to redraw borders, right? But through some kind of military actions, obviously. All right, so it could be also sea territory disputes as well. It could be increased presence of private security forces or nationalist militants as well, who are going to be labeled like we are here for public safety, but it could be control because Saturn is control guys. So, all right. It could be also a lot of change around national defense as well. um, they're going to draw a lot of young children to military services and promising everything for them and might not actually deliver the promises. But I have two sons and I never want them to go to army. It is just like I would never want them to go to army. It could be also something to do with religious extremism as well, right? And something to do with authoritarian faith structures. Like for example, Saturn is organized and Aries is the warrior, all right? So it could be like, all right, some kind of rise of militant religious movement. It is also almost like a holy war or some kind of religious war justified through divine authority, all right? Like we are the chosen ones kind of situation there as well, what's happening right now. But definitely, uh, you know, it could some kind of religious institution tighten doctrine under the guise of returning to roots, conservative backlashes against modernity. And it could also actually redefine everything with the Middle East conflict. Um, and the historical echoes, we were talking about the Six-Day War and the Arab Revolt as well, and Kosovo crisis as well. It's parallel with that kind of tension, but could happen because it's ethnic and territorial battles, all of them, anything to do with, the West Bank and Gaza and there could be a lot of shift in borders right now. Aries, anything to do with raw assertion. And also, it could be like, okay, that is self defense. This is mine. It does not negotiate, it claims. Saturn and his boundaries and karma and legacy, right? And it turns very impulsive Mars energy into cold structure. Together, they're going to bring in some kind of policy, which is, like anything to do with nationalism. There is also could be something to do with sacred sites or water access, as well. For example, Jerusalem temple over their territorial urgencies, the land ownership. And it could be also something to do with reclaimed, uh, politically claimed, actually, or reclaimed, through missile attacks or anything to do with extremists. And it's not only the Middle East over here, guys, but it could be all over the world. But right now, the Middle East is going to be actually more warlike zone, and it could include right now Lebanon, Syria, and Iran as well. So, it could be actually going further and very, very scary. I would say scary. All right. It could be also bring in, as I said, Yemen as well, because right now when I was watching the news, obviously Yemen is already in, right? Um, Definitely going to have some kind of new military alliances as well. NATO also could be, I'm not saying it's going to be destroyed, but it not necessarily going to have the same countries into NATO, right? And Russia, China, there could be also, get together and have actually for Iran perhaps and against America. So that's definitely attention going to be over here. And also, it could be, as I said, the peace dealing, it's not going to be something to be peaceful. It's forceful negotiation, painful decisions, okay? It is control under military threat, right? Going to silence the public voice, like whoever speaks up, they're going to get erased their YouTube channel, or, I wonder if they're going to do that with us astrologers as well. Perhaps they will, like the public going to get, all right, you're going to go to jail, or if you are talking the truth, or that's not the truth what you are saying, if you are even staying authentic. So, that could happen definitely over here. Um, and the military technologies is going to become, really invest a lot of money in military technology or military stocks for sure. And it could be also something to do with youth leaders, guys, because of, Aries is youth, it's young people, young generals, for example, and the old ones going to be overthrown. Saturn was overthrown by Jupiter. Saturn and Jupiter going to square in Cancer and Aries, and obviously it's squaring right now anyway. Pisces and what is Jupiter in Gemini, but it's going to square again. Soon and in June. So, it could be something to do like leaders or are going to be overthrown by their children or by the young. The master is the teacher is overthrown, the master is overthrown by the student kind of situation. All right, that could happen in personal lives as well. So careful who you work with, who you teach, because they might going to steal your ideas. And also it could be, Saturn in Aries could be some kind of pandemic restriction. Saturn is restriction. Aries is anything to do with inflammations and some kind of inflammations there. So for example, Saturn is restrictions or structures and policies, and Aries anything to do with the physical body, immune response and inflammation, infection. So it could be also something to do with the head, but because Mars is anything to do with rapid spread and burning fevers, it could be actually some kind of militarized health response. For example, if it would be something to some kind of inflammation, a high fever, and I don't know. And I was thinking of that because of it could be a malaria or a West Nile outbreak because of it going to have a lot more mosquitoes, for example, right? And because Mars could represent the mosquitoes, and because it's burning fever, it could be that outbreak, and then we will have to have some kind of militarized health response to make sure people are staying wherever and not spreading the virus. So that kind of situation could happen. during, you know, and also Mars rules the muscular system as well, and Saturn is structure. So, you know, definitely anything to do which is going to ignite the the body and some kind of autoimmune flare-ups or anything to do with headaches because of Aries is head and also ear and anything to do with eyes as well. You know, maybe pink eyes or some kind of virus which is very bad for it. It could be also something to do with mad cow disease, for example, as well. But yes, so but it's faster, hotter, and harder to track. That is that kind of virus could come in because of obviously Mars is very, very, you know, quickly spread and very hot, and Saturn is hard to track. Yes, heat-based symptoms, right? Or brain inflammation, something like that. And it could be also because Saturn is seizing something and Mars anything to do with the circulation as well. So it could be like rise in blood clots or coronary diseases, anything to do with like a lot of young people could actually drop dead from heart attack or emboli or you know anything to do with strokes as well, unfortunately. All right. So yeah, that could be. And they're going to try to enforce the quarantines, you know, especially in politically unstable regions, right? And all right. So what else could happen over here? Uh, all right, right. Let's see. There could be also something to do with global vaccine conflict, right, as well. So, for example, to create some kind of health passport and anything to do with, all right, if you are not going to take this vaccine, then you cannot go anywhere. You are not capable to move, just like when it was COVID, for example. But, you know, Aries rules personal, you know, opinion and sovereignty. So, you know, it says like, all right, you know what, this is my body, my choice. But Saturn is imposes laws and limitation and responsibilities and said, no, it's not. We're going to force that on you kind of situation. And it could be some kind of international travel bans, but you know, it's also could be just some countries involved over here, maybe Venezuela, maybe Yemen, whatever. And you know, okay, so those countries, it has a lot of malaria, and we're going to actually totally, they are not capable to come into Europe, or we're going to limit, you know, their traveling kind of situation, right? And it could be also implantable Vex ID chips. I hope they're not gonna do that, or you know, anything to do with biometric vaccine tattoos as well, which is they going to be, you know, capable to scan forever and scanning even for fever. And you know, and even drones will be able to scan us, you know, especially the ones who are going to want to, because I told you guys by 2028, we're going to have 43% to 50% the AI going to overtake jobs. And what are they going to do? They're going to globalize. They're going to have some kind of uh, okay, we are giving money for people, a certain amount what they can use for food and shelter and everything, because otherwise they won't be capable to survive. If you are not learning AI, then you won't be able to to teach yourself. I'm doing that every day. I'm learning 20 minutes not to stay behind. Actually, I want to take some very intensive course during the summertime when I'm slower, so not to stay behind. It's very, very important. And people who has no information, who are blind, who are, you know, threatened, and you know, it could be like, all right, maybe they are going to or willing to take that kind of vaccine tattoos or implantable vaccine chips as well. And then if you have it in, you know, then you will be scanned for anything, and then they are capable to actually stop you. I have a few, not few. All my friends are intelligent because I surround myself with intelligent people. Because I have, you know, I always tell the boys I have a fear of stupidity, so I cannot talk to people who are not intelligent. And And one of my friend actually was talking about how they, why are they, what are they putting in the Coke and even bottled water, any kind of fluoride, which is could be actually stay in your system, right? And because of that, it could track everything. And for example, that kind of blue liquid or whatever comes from bottled water and things like that could be detected even with your cell phone, and it could actually make you to do things whatever the government wants you to do. I know it sounds like science fiction, okay, and it sounds like crazy, but or conspiracy or things like that, but look at where we are heading, guys. Look at where we are heading. Look into this, because I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I was like, I don't even want to hear it. But obviously I started to go in the rabbit hole, right? I'm always doing researches. And I was like, holy shit, this is something what could be really, we can be really controlled by the stupid cell phones. I was like, okay, maybe I'm gonna buy a flip phone. I have enough right now. And even the EMF is terrible from these 5Gs and everything. So maybe we should just buy flip phones. Mm. But, it could be also, for example, weaponized wellness, right? Because of nations creating their own pharma alliances. Blood as currency, guys. So it could be anything to do with immunity trading, and there is I don't know where I saw that, probably Joe Rogan, or I don't know why you think, and somewhere they showed a AI generated commercial when it's like a man actually, oh no, maybe I saw that in stupid social media. A man is running because a lot of women who didn't get vaccinated during COVID, because it's a fertile man and have good seeds, and like thousands and women are chasing the man because they all want to reproduce with the same person. And because of there is infertility issues, could be that as well. So yes, blood as currency. I mean, come on, right now we are selling plasmas, right? So there is, for example, a research center where if you have autoimmune disease and your anti-TPO is over 3,000, okay, they can give you actually, and you can Google that for yourself, $1,000 weekly, and they will regulate your diet, or just be in this research program how actually to heal autoimmune disease. But also there is a lot of single mother people who are in America. If you give plasma, blood plasma, then you get $350 each week if you give once a week plasma, for example. So it's already, blood is already a currency, right? Because of if you guys saying no, it's not possible, this is so stupid. Come on, blood donation, you got $20 of gift card. What is that if it's not currency, right? So yes, there will be also a lot of underground practitioners as well, because of they going to resist the global system. Okay, so we're going to have a lot of warrior of healers as well to bypass this kind of military medicine media that's going to be the new holy trinity of authority. And it is just like, okay, now I don't want to be in this, and I'm a healer, I'm gonna be a warrior taking a warrior place, and I'm not going to do that. So I'm gonna be someone who is working underground. um, yes, definitely weapon regulation, and I already told you why, because of what's happened when Saturn was in Aries with weapon regulation all over on the world. But what it's going to bring in, unfortunately, it's going to have more black market expansion of the weapons. So when it's the law bringing in some kind of regulation, they are like, okay, you know what? Then I'm gonna go to black market, and I'm gonna go around authority. There could be some kind of political assassination as well, because of when last time Saturn was in Aries, we did have Martin Luther King and RFK as well, right? The assassination. So, there is going to be, and I told you guys, there is a lot of people actually who are in danger right now. And they are authority figures, leaders. There could be also some kind of historic drought, and wildfires as well. And it's going to force territorial disputes and migration. Obviously, guys, that is something to do with weather relations, infrastructures collapses, and them's going to be without water, and because of the drought, and obviously they have to move from the cities. There could be also mandatory military services. So it's not going to be okay if you want to sign up to military. It could be mandatory for many, many um, countries, and it's going to be unfortunately young males, because Mars is young, Aries is actually young people. All right, so that could be that as well. Anything to do with nations under threat, Taiwan, Ukraine, South Korea, Israel, and anything to do, actually not Israel, but Palestine, Yemen, and there could be like, all right, we are drawing, young people in, and also there could be some kind of forced service. For the LGBTQ communities, anything to do with civil rights backlash is over there. So we will see that as well. And why? Because Saturn correlates with Uranus. Uranus is actually the unconventional, and it rules the gaze, right? So that could be. But the shadow side of those kind of things, like people who are talking up, could be punished or jailed, for example, because of, and it could be some kind of mass jail time for rebels and people who talk up. There could be also, like asylum seeking, secret escapes, and also fake documentations as well. It's gonna go a lot of underground networks emerges right now. And yes, so definitely we're going to do something with space mining, or even get something on Mars, maybe, I would think right now. It could be a lot of bushfires, for example, maybe in Australia as well, and California again. And we're definitely going to have more military response, even for civilians as well. So that's gonna happen through this time. And but Saturn is discipline, and it's order, and they want to actually create obedient citizens, right? And especially the youth. Um, this could be some kind of regime as well, rising right now, dictatorship. Um, and we don't want that, especially, because I have two young children. I just definitely don't want to have that coming through, because it could be very, very sad for the youth, for the young boys. And the agenda is really controlled. Saturn, it's really like, for example, scholarship or housing credits, okay, or early job placement, for example. It could be in struggle during this time. It could be something to do. The youth going to be encouraged mm, to spy on each other or report on each other, right? So some kind of patriotism camp, whatever, like in the late 30s, Hitler actually created a youth camp in Germany. So definitely it could be some kind of issues with that. Around the world, it not necessarily has to be in the US. It is just like around the world. And because of, like the war situation is increasing, and martial laws as well, it's going to be more crisis and civil unrest as well. Um, so that's why going to happen. It could be also, some kind of medical martialism as well, anything to do with, for example, controversial laws and something to do with reproductive rights. Okay, so organ donation as well. Maybe because of the Bible said, like you are not allowed to give your organs, and there is going to be some kind of policy which is going to stop organ donation. I hope we're not going to have then, like the black market growing over here with kidnapped children and things like that, because that's terrible. If they're going to do that, maybe because of the 3D printing is going to be so available, and we're going to 3D print organs as well. So it could be definitely that. But mm, oh, yes, yes, yes. It could be the space militarization as well. Because of, as I told you guys, especially when Uranus gonna go Gemini, flying object, traveling, like there is so many universe. And come on, we think we are the only one over here. We're going to have actually knowledge and a lot of information about aliens and who they connected before. And then they might have to do something with the space itself, because we don't want to attacked by other civilizations as well. So that's going to happen. All right. There is, for example, let me see what else I wanted to talk about. I already talked a lot. There could be also the Moon and Mars property rights, who claims it, who gonna go, first and claims the moon, or and we might even have fight and war because of that. Is it gonna be China or Russia or the US Space Force? Uh, I know it's crazy, but it could be something to do that. And there we're going to have more private companies like Blue Origin or SpaceX. So yeah, and they could actually start to build something on the moon, some kind of infrastructure over there. Um, and definitely in Saturn is we're going to have, for example, with funerals, we're going to have more cremations as well, because Aries is heat, right? Saturn is death, so we can say that as well. Um, and well, what else can it happen? Let me just brainstorm a little bit. Definitely, we can see something to do with more like AI drones and anything, because Saturn is going to conjunct with Neptune, and it's going to sextile with Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini. So definitely it could, bring in some kind of um, cyber tech issues, or it could be also technology definitely going to be in center of attention. And in some cases, it could be really good. I told you guys, because of we're not gonna have that much casualties in a war. So the AI will be able to read faces and temperatures and, even everything. So they can find people quickly with that kind of militarized technological, like evolution. So it could be actually good in some cases. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say, and I don't want to really talk about anything else, because that's enough, I think. Um, the Mars colonization, it is because Aries ruled by Mars, and definitely it could be like some kind of structure built over there. Um, yeah, and it's gonna be, it could be something to do with martyrs as well, and terrorism is going to be under the banner for sure, right? Sacred duty to get rid of terrorists. And right now the US actually clarified all the uh, cartel members to be, if they are coming to the country, you know, those are terrorists as well. So we will see what's going to happen over here. But oh, by the way, I can also see some kind of entertainment coming up again, like the gladiator entertainment, you know, anything to do with combat cultures, you know, because Mars is aggression and strength and violence, and Aries anything to do with competition and domination and primal instinct. So Saturn is structure. So it could be like, all right, fist fight, you know, legal street fist fights, and you know, okay, let's do some kind of gladiators setup, and see people how to, you know, like kill each others in front of other people. So I can see that coming, that kind of bare knuckle leaks, for example, and you know, um, some kind of new sport, combat sport coming in. All right, and then we're going to go for each individual signs, guys. All right, um, because of I don't really want to bring more bad news over here. And the remedies, the remedies, I want to talk a little bit of remedies, you know, like, you know, how to strengthen your values and be disciplined and try to actually reintroduce nonviolent, you know, fights or karate or something for boys, which is Mars dominant, but, you know, also spiritual martial arts as well. So that's very, very important how we're going to actually overcome this situation. And also global masculinity also could be in crisis, okay? So we might going to re-educate our children with masculine identity. And as I said, Aries and Mars is raw, and how we fight and how we defend ourselves and survivor instinct. But you know, Saturn is the definition of structure, fatherhood, maturity, karma, wisdom. So maybe we're going to be like, okay, we have to evolve and not to have rage, for example, because of if we have rage, then we are not capable to control our life anymore. So definitely it's going to be not using a lot of testosterone shots, for example, but usually a lot of people using a lot of men using testosterone shot. You know, those kind of toxic masculinity. Uh, Going to you know, like we're not gonna pay attention for those, or not going to be like, all right, we love this kind of toxic masculinity. We're going to actually create more sacred warrior archetypes, people, you know, who are wise, mature, and anything to do with wise codes of behavior, who are not just fighting but stand for something, okay? That kind of um, masculinity we will have right now. All right, and then we're going to talk about each individual signs as well. And first, I'm going to actually talk about Aries, rising, sun, and moon. You know, guys, the rules. Watch it for your rising sign, after your sun sign, and later for your moon sign, to get a holistic pictures. That is your free big picture. And the rising is everything about you. That is your first house, right? I do whole sign astrology and tropical astrology. So the rising sign is all about you, your the life, the way you pretend, your body, and the sun is anything to do with your career, your father figure, the authority in your lives, and your vitality. And actually, the moon is everything with your feelings, mother figure, your way you nurturing others, and your inner child as well, your emotions, your security, your home security as well, and anything to do with your family or living situation. So Aries, rising, sun, and moon, you know, this is the sacred forge of selfhood, because it's going to happen actually, is in your first house. The warrior must learn to endure himself. That's what's the theme about for you. You know, the universe wants your fire to mean something, as I said. Anything to do with identity, body, self-image, primal instinct as well, and initiations. You know, you are asked to own your flame, bleed with honor, and rise in integrity. So, for example, your identity can be rebuilt right now. You know, it is something to do. You look into the mirror and don't recognize who you become. You are very burnt out, and you know. Your performance are not what it was before, you are unsure, and Saturn forces you to strip away for false armor, for example. You can begin therapy, shave your head, change your name, reclaim yourself. So definitely you're going to rebuild your identity. And physical initiation through pain, anything to do with old injuries could flare up. Your body going to become a battlefield. You know, you either ignore it and collapse or create a disciplined healing routine and honoring your body as your temple and actually heal. It could be also you are taking on to some kind of silent leadership. You are used to being loud and impulsive, but now Saturn teaches that the quietest person in the room may be the most powerful, you know. And actually, it is also in one of my other favorite series is the Lie to Me with Timrod. And, you know, there I learned, you know, like in Arabic word, the one who is the most powerful always goes in the very end of the pack and lets everyone else into the room first. And also the wolves are who are the leader of the pack of wolf pack is the one who is really behind and who is the last one by, because he can see actually everything from the back. And they are putting actually the elders at the first, because if there is some danger or other wolf pack is coming or danger coming into their life, they can actually eat or attack the elder first, who they have to go first. So kind of smart, right? All right. But you know, you lead not with noise, but presence right now, and other going to start to listening when you're finally going to stop shouting, guys. And it could also bring the ego death in spotlight. You want recognition, you want applause. Instead, Saturn going to bring rejection, delay, or humiliation. Or you can also realize your real applause actually is self-respect here. You stop performing and start actually embodying and becoming who you actually preach to be, right? And it could be also some kind of radical boundaries with family and partners as well. Because, you know, people who shaped your identity begin to resist your evolution. For example, you create some kind of ritual separations. You write a letter to your childhood self, or you stop letting other people to write your name in there kind of ink, you know, like, okay, so don't gossip about me, or don't tell who I am. You know, I know who I am. The way you are describing me, it's not valid. It could be also, you know, reforging the masculine within. For example, you have some kind of toxic internalization of Mars, you know, with aggression and over compensation, and some kind of, you know, savior complex or warrior complex over here. And you have to confront that. You learn the sacred masculine isn't violent, it's protective, present, and purposeful. And you're going to stop picking fights and start fighting for something when it need to be actually fighting for someone or something. Becoming also the disciplined warrior, someone who is structured and maybe going to some kind of somatic therapy, strength training, anything to do with martial art. As I said, capoeira and tai chi could be really, really great without burning out. And you also going to intentionally withdraw yourself from social circles as well. You can disappear from social media. You can lose some friends, who are very loud and chaotic. And, you are also like, all right, maybe I was very loud and I'm going to reemerge maybe in 6 months later and I'm going to be fierce, but very, very centered. And, silence going to become your ritual right now. It could be something to do with inner authority, like some kind of crisis. It could be like, all right, your confidence actually going to collapse because you hit the wall. And Saturn says, all right, confidence isn't real. But discipline is, all right? So you have to rebuild it slowly. Now you are more powerful, and you're going to stand with very, very strong roots. I always say that like Aya from that's my favorite tree, besides Mr. Peer, my old oak tree in my child book. But Aya is the one who has very, very deep roots from Avatar, right? So you can become someone who is unshakable and you can actually become self-made. Nobody saves you, nobody shows up. You stop waiting, you stop blaming, pointing fingers. You do the damn thing and you're going to do it alone. And Saturn going to smile and finally it's going to be I know who am I because of I gained this recognition through my own sweat and blood. All right, Saturn for Taurus rising, Saturn in Aries for Taurus rising, Sun and Moon. It's going to happen in your 12th house, which is, the silent fire, anything to do with karmic cleanup behind the veil. And Saturn is dragging your feet across the ashes of lifetimes over here. This is not the warrior on the battlefield. This is the warrior in exile, hidden in the mist, because of 12th house is ruling mist and confronting the ghost in the closets, guys. 12th house, anything to do with the unseen. 12th house also the house of karma as well, and endings and spiritual wound and dissolution, spiritual dissolution as well. Anything to do with hidden enemies, subconscious, isolation, dreams, hospitals, prisons, mysticism as well. So, we have to add the Aries fire over here. And, then it's like, okay, so I have some kind of hidden rage, some kind of soul contract, some kind of martyrhood, and I cannot bypass over here, so I have to become more like for example, it could be something to do with you've been calm for decades, for example, but right now you're going to have some kind of rage or dreams, which is warrior dreams or sex dreams all the time. And actually the rage also could come in during meditation. Your dreams going to become violent, and you realize you don't have serenity anymore, and you begin actually some kind of new rituals right now, and it could be something to do with like, all right, I'm going to scream into my pillow, or going out into the ocean where nobody hears me, or the wind is going to carry my screams far away, and you are actually have to hear, and it has to come from subconscious. It could be like also the warrior going to be awakened during your dreams, anything to do with, for example, past life, reincarnation hypnosis, and then you're going to find yourself, going to understand who you are. Definitely, you guys have to keep a dream journal, okay? Because of it could be some kind of guidance for you. And it's also going to bring in some kind of karmic endings, okay? So anything to do with relationships could vanish, or job could dissolve right now. Anything to do with, it's not going to be very dramatic as exit. It's going to be some kind of slow ghosting from the universe, okay? You surrender. And it's not a punishment. Actually, it's a purification, and you will understand it has to be gone. You are alone, but not lonely necessarily. You're going to isolate yourself, but it could be something to do with self-isolation. And you can initiate that because it's in Aries. Obviously, it could be also something to do with what is that? Anything to do with yes, isolation with like you want to go to a monastery and stay in, for example, silence, right? And it could be also spiritual rage, not spiritual bypass, something to do with you used to say everything happens for a reason, or right now you are saying, I'm angry, and that's okay. uh, that's all right to be angry. That's all right to have kind of negative emotion. And I don't want to actually, just like put a makeup on it. Um, so you're going to stop sugarcoating, right? You let the fire to be holy and not hidden. And also, there could be some kind of secret enemies, reward people who pretend to support your healing, but they are not actually on a passive, aggressive way. They want to actually undermine your growth. And Saturn going to expose them, and you're going to cut ties without drama. Okay, you're going to be able to protect yourself, and it is like, all right, protection is quiet. I don't have to put that on social media. I'm just done with these people. And there will be some kind of healing that's going to require sacrifice, right? It is like you're going to stop asking, why me, why me, why me? And you're going to say, okay, I claim it. I'm okay with it. I understand. It's happened with me. How can I actually resolve that issue? It could be like you are going to be called to services, maybe, caring for dying patient, anything to do with hospice volunteering, and also mental health as well, because of 12 has anything to do with addiction as well. And it could be like, all right, I'm going to have to deal with my anxiety because it's become untamable, and I have insomnia, or some kind of ancestral trauma as well, which I need to work with. It is shadow work or breath work, and you can actually create some kind of fire drum circle or things like that, and belong from people who your tribe, who you really belong from. um, and then also it could be like you're definitely going to withdraw from the noise, okay? And as I said, it's okay to delete Instagram, or not to watch the news. It's okay to stop broadcasting, for example, if it's not growing, or it is doesn't bring you any growth. For example, you can become a mystery, okay? For example, and people going to start to ask, okay, where is where are you, and where have you been? And you have to become a mystery and stay behind the scene, because of when you are coming back, you are going to come back with authenticity and become real as well. And you also could actually become a monk, or also a spiritual warrior during this time as well. All right, Saturn in Aries for Gemini rising, Sun and Moon, it's going to happen in your 11th house. The rebel circle going to break, the true one going to remain. 11th house. 11th house is the domain of community, future vision, anything to do with your collective moments and collective movements and alliances as well, friends, chosen family, humanitarian ideas. But with Saturn in Aries, you are not invited to the usual party anymore. You are being initiated into secret solitude and soul aligned connection. All right. So you're going to actually burn, the bridges, and actually everything is what was not serving you going to collapse, and you're going to rebuild. So, for example, friendship collapse, because it's going to revolve, the real bonds between you and your friends. It could be like the family's feeling of, or people you once thought it was family for you. the chats are dries up, the support going to evaporate, and you are going to remove these people, but in silence, right? Um, and also, it could be like some kind of activist burnout turns into strategic leadership, something to do with you were once the loudest in the protest, and you aren't just right now, right? Just maybe support or holding the fire, but you are stop posting, for example, and you start writing, and for example, focus on real support networks. Saturn going to upgrade your activism, okay, from noise to legacy. And you're the public persona crisis, anything to do with authenticity, and your online voice going to get quieter. The performance of the community tries to feel fake, Saturn demands alignment. You start building real life gatherings or safe spaces offline. You stop counting likes and start tracking impact and work for the laughs and not for the likes. There is one of my favorite band, also Protege, and I'm a I love reggae music, and really truly I like everything about reggae. And there is Protege who says, do it for the love, don't do it for the likes. So it is very, very important. You leave the wrong circles, right? Anything. Is it an activist pod, a spiritual group? Is it some kind of old group of college friends? You outgrow it. They are illusions. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into. And you say, okay, I don't belong from here anymore. Goodbye. And it could bring in some kind of delay with your vision and dreams, but it could get sharpened. The project over here, anything to do with future vision and revolution. And, Saturn over here says, uh, okay, you know what? Work a little bit more on it and test it. And if it is actually not doing well, you have to rewrite it. Any obstacle that's going to arrive, you're going to need to work, sweat blood to overcome it. Okay, but by the end, your dream has bones and it's going to survive. So that's very, very important. And isolation also could be really good to spend nights alone for thinking, writing, and building. The social life, when it dries up, you're going to actually have more time to become an authentic yourself and to leave your blueprint, as well. And anything to do with mentorship, and mentorship replaces friendship. So, for example, your peers become less relevant, and you are entering right now something which is you going to surround yourself with older, wiser people who are more loyal, who have shared purpose with you, and grow together. So that's very, very important. And it could be also some kind of collective karma purging as well, because of the old groups what was resonating with you. It's like, okay, it's done. But on the other hand, because Saturn is old age as well, so it is like, all right, in my childhood, I had a group, what I belong from, and those are coming back and resurface, for example. And you can also realize you were part of toxic collectives that never did their shadow work, and you cut the cords right now. All right, and then it could be also to have a new role in collective leadership for you. You call to lead, and you were resisting it because it's too much pressure, too much, responsibility. But right now, Saturn say, okay, it's not about ego, it's about integrity. And, you can rise, you can be a hero, but, you can do it in silence. You don't want to drum around this, And it's also a smaller, stronger circle you're going to build up right now. Okay, so Saturn in Aries for Cancer, rising, Sun and Moon, it's going to happen in your 10th house. You are the matriarch, must go to war, okay? You wanted a legacy, all right, build it with fire and bones right now. So it is actually saying, in your 10th house, because the 10th house is the highest point of our chart. It is the house of the career, public image, reputation, purpose, authority, and soul legacy. And it is like, all right, Saturn over here, it is like, let me lead. Okay, so you are no longer allowed to hide behind nurturing. You are here to lead. You will be respected, and also it could be some kind of strong structure coming into your life as well. Anything to do with, public failure becomes some kind of sacred fuel for you. You learn something, anything to do with books, business, big moves, and it flaps and you feel humiliated. But Saturn over here says, listen, don't feed your ego. This is a mission. It is the journey itself. You can rise again. Just stand up and rebuild. And it could be some kind of career burnout for you as well. And you're going to be forced to reroute. You've been working for external validation and titles and approval or financial safety. And right now, your body says, no more, I'm done over here. You burn out, you break down, or you quit. And then you remember the passion, the real mission, and you rebuild your career, but going to fit your fire. And it could be also battle of with authority at your workplace, like you get a leadership role, but others resist you, or you too soft, too different, too emotional, too untraditional, and you have to fight, not with fits, obviously, but with boundaries and competence and some kind of secret fury as well. And you will win. You also could become the blueprint itself. No more mentors, no more bosses who get it. You realize you are the one people had been waiting for. You stop seeking permission, or you start laying down foundations right now, and you're going to become the leader you needed 10 years ago. And it could be also something to do with reputation. It could be a scandal, a rumor, a social media backlash, but could rock your world for a while. And you have to actually reawake your public identity, and you have to say your truth. It is a karmic cleanup, definitely, and the holy fire is going to return, and you have to confront your shadows. You can build an empire, and you're going to do alone. Okay, because Saturn is isolates. Aries acts, you realize you must do the early stages of your legacy alone. No applause, no support, just vision, sweat, and blood. But years later, people will say, how did you build that? Oh my God, it is so impressive. I'm so honored to be a friend with you. And it could be also like you want to reclaim your matriarch power or patriarch power, but Cancer is very matriarch, and the energy wants to nurture over here. And Saturn says, okay, you can nurture, but through structures. It is discipline and you tough love, protecting parent and protecting with your vision actually as well. You can be strategic and but put boundaries even with your children, and so contract with responsibility is very, very important right now, because if you take a job, a title, a role, you didn't think you were ready for, and Saturn say, you know what, you are ready. Enough from the learning, show what you learned and grow into this fire, grow into this role, for example, and you rise. And also legacy over likes as well, even I said it for Geminis as well, but because it's slow, real, and unpopular, but very powerful. If you are building your crowd, if you have a social media account, it's not going to be like overnight you gain over 1 million view. It is like very steady, but very slow, but it is very, very sturdy as well. And it is also you going to this transit could actually bring in some kind of it's remind me of Jesus Christ and the crown of the thorns over here, because it will bring some kind of aches and fall and underestimated situation, self-sacrifice over here. But, when Saturn going to leave Aries, that's going to be you're going to own your own mountain and wearing the crown, and it will have some score under that crown, but you will say, you know what, it didn't kill me, it just made me stronger. And I very, 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 I like this. All right. So then it's going to be for Leo risings, Sun and Moon, Saturn in Aries is happening in your ninth house. All right. So anything to do with your truth must be fought for. You can't preach what you haven't bled for. That's what the theme is over here. So the ninth house, anything to do with your belief system, philosophy, long distance travel, anything to do with publishing, law, higher education, spiritual truth. So you're going to be the warrior of spiritual truth, for example, and anything to do with academic ego or some kind of borrow ideology or spiritual fluff going to be destroyed, and it's going to be like a new philosophy is rising. For example, any kind of belief system, it's going to collapse and your soul is awakening. The religion that you actually clung to, it's not working anymore. It didn't save you. So it cracks, it fails, it burns. Saturn's walk you through the fire and says, no, build your own damn gospel. That's what it is. And, there could be also some kind of, education, which is like you are not going to rely on your master degrees anymore. And it is like, all right, you know what? I wanted to return to school and start something new, anything to do with training or teaching. But you know what? It feels like hell. I don't want to do that. The professors are gaslight. It's bureaucracy everywhere. And you know what? I'm smart enough and I'm going to actually take another avenue right now. Of the mastery coming from some kind of different avenue. And but it could be also like they want to stop you, but somehow you will pass anyway. And it also could be some kind of crisis of faith, and it could become the sword of the truth right now. And you know what, guys? Yeah, as the sword of the truth. So you question God, you question the system, nothing makes sense anymore. And it is something to do when you hear like, okay, um, it's not from a books, it has to come from inside. And anything what you're going to believe in, it's going to be like it just burns inside. That voice, okay, that's what I have to follow right now. If you have anything to do with teaching and publishing, and sharing on YouTube channel, for example, social media, you've got a message, for example, maybe a book, a podcast, a philosophy, and you're going to learn about that. And it could be also anything to do with YouTubing or anything to do with your master degrees could get delayed as well because of you need to master your craft. It says don't rush, be authentic and speak for people who has wisdom. You have to speak with wisdom. And also it could be something to do with travel as well because of its long distance traveling. Maybe you wanted to move abroad and that kind of trip and plan actually, it's get destroyed somehow. And maybe you just wanted to escape. And right now, instead, you're going to turn into some kind of okay, let me learn some kind of spirituality or some kind of new beliefs. It could be like your visa can fall through, or you get sick abroad, or you meet some kind of karmic mirrors during the trip, and you come home changed. And it's not because you left, but because Saturn made you to see. And also, it could be some kind of legal battle, something to do with moral codes as well, because of, the ninth house, it's law. Anything to do with, maybe justice issues or immigration blocks as well. Uh, and you are asking, do I really want to win or do I want to be right? So it is like, okay, so I'm going to follow whatever is good for me, and not necessarily winning is good for me over here. But it could be also some kind of cultural identity crisis. And, a lot of, especially in US, if you live over here, and it could be issues with immigration and nationalism, or maybe some kind of language barrier as well, and Saturn going to demand you to study, or also it could be, all right, maybe you need to go back where you were coming from, it could be also something to do with sacred messenger as well, because of the ninth house, anything to do with teaching and like YouTubing, and you could be someone who was always very loud and preached and whatever, but right now you're going to work behind the scene, and you're going to speak very wisely and also quietly with wisdom, and that's how you can actually bring in more YouTube followers if you would like to. But anything to do with the master warriors core are going to emerge right now. You sweat blood, and you are, for example, do some kind of poetry, and it haven't been maybe honored, but right now your hard work going to bring in some kind of delight, and it's going to liberate you. When Saturn is going to leave your ninth house, it's going to liberate you. And your words are actually your temple. But first, you have to burn down everything during this transit, and then you can become the guru. You're not going to need approval. You're not going to need to label you are a monk, a guru, a master, or whatever. You just walk into your own skin, body, whatever, and you're gonna own it. You're going to own this sacred fire. So it's a living transformation of, anything to do with philosophy and teaching as well. All right, guys, Saturn in Aries for Virgo rising. It's going to happen actually in your turn eighth house. It is some kind of like burn to be born or burn to be reborn, the secret fire beneath the skin. So the eighth has anything to do with death, sex, trauma, shared finances, inheritance, soul bonded contracts, karmic debt, anything to do with shadow alchemy, okay? You are here to die before you die, okay? So it is like you are not here to play safe. It's kind of cleansing, and it's not really a mild cleansing. It is the ritual fire of the underworld. Anything to do with financial purge, the eighth house, anything to do with partner's death could become yours. An investment can fail. You lose money. Saturn strips illusion around shared wealth. It says, fight for financial independence. And also, it could be something to do with intimacy, and sex becomes sacred for you. It could be also terrifying as well, or sometimes unavailable. Your face, your patterns, anything to do with control, fear, detachment, you're going to face that. Also, it could be something you're going to stop faking, and you're going to start healing very, very deep traumas. Um, and you realize over here you really need some kind of real power. Also, it could be some kind of inheritance test as well. You deal with family inheritance, something to do with material karmic issues over here, a will, a lawsuit, a legacy, a curse. You become the one to break it, not with rage, but with rituals, with power. So also it could be some kind of trauma which could actually resurface right now during this transition. Anything to do with old wounds, anything to do with betrayal or abuse, and it is not to punish you, but initiate a change. It is like, okay, finally you're going to stop pretending, and you're going to become a real alchemist. anything to do with shadow work, what is, no longer optimal. For example, you attract intense people, toxic lovers, power plays, and you realize what I hate in them lives in me. Saturn over here can say, you know what, own it. Don't fight it. Um, just own it, and you're going to reborn. Also, what other thing could happen? You are capable to heal some kind of rage, trauma, anything to do with even prenatal trauma. And I know it's the eighth house, but something very, very rooted deeply ancestral, a line in your bloodline, something to do with burn, any kind of contract with your bloodline over here. Um, you don't just cry the pain, you become the flame that ends it. It's End With Us. There is a really good movie right now with Blake someone. And I'm telling you, that is the movie calls like It End With Us. And that is for you as well. That is the theme for you. It ends with you. You can become a death doula, or you can become someone who is a midwife, anything to do with sex education. Maybe you're going to write a book about sex education, or you can actually become a forensic analysis or a crime consultant, someone like a private detective or a crime analyst, or anything to do with occult art as well. Careful with dark path, careful with cults, because it could bring some kind of cult into your life. And there could be also kind of power dynamic in partnership, guys. So careful, especially if you have an older significant other, because they can force you to sign a prenup, but is not really good for you. And you have to get rid of manipulation, right? And imbalance in the relationship somehow. It could also bring in some kind of miscarriage or abortion kind of situation in your life somehow. But it's also Phoenix over here, because eighth house is Phoenix, anything to do with like, I'm ending the illusions, a debt, for example. I'm going to work hard to pay off my debt and credit cards, and you're going to rise from that and glow again, because of the fear is also ending with it. And it is a very, 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 deep rebirth for you guys here. All right, Libra rising, sun and moon is going to happen in your seventh house. Seventh house, there will be only sacred bonds what's going to survive. Other actually have to go. So seventh house is the domain of relationship, contracts, soulmates, enemies, and mirrors, It's also codependency as well. The way it's actually about burning through illusion and romantic performance. It is like only what is real going to last. If it wasn't, Saturn will definitely shatter it, and Aries will be the light of the match, and it's gonna put that on fire. So, for example, it is a reality check with relationship. You've been tolerating, too much, and right now it's enough. And something is intolerable, and you are like, okay, this is not love, and I'm just gonna leave. It could bring in separation, legal separation, and breakup, something to do with contracts, which could dissolve as well. Anything to do with karmic closure for you guys. You fight for your freedom. It's too painful. The relationship, collaboration is too painful, and you want to be liberated, and you will be. A new relationship forces you to grow, so it could be something to do with a new, but maybe a wise person, a wise spiritual person perhaps, who is like, okay, force you to grow. It could be intense and raw, and someone who is entering your life, but definitely wiser and older. But somehow they're going to mirror something which is Martian energy, and it's unhealed in you. And you know, it could bring in some kind of questions for you, like, all right, what's going on? Am I actually ready for a new relationship, or worthy to a relationship? Business partnership also going to go through some kind of test as well. You know, it could be some kind of money issues and ego clashes as well. And it's going to, Aries actually demands clarity for sure. So Saturn is demanding wisdom and contract and patience, and Aries is like, okay, give me the clarity over here. You know, either you build an empire, or you know, you walk alone. You meet your match, someone challenges you. They are not actually charmed by your diplomacy. They call you really, really bluff. And instead of people pleasing, you learn authentic assertion. And it could be also some kind of public conflict, because you know, seventh house also is, or follower, YouTube followers, you know, social media followers, subscribers. So it could bring in some kind of public conflict, and it's going to force you to pick a side. For example, anything to do with legal matters, legal flights, you know, and it's going to actually split the stage, and it's going to put you on one side. Um, and you're going to stop being neutral. You're not going to be Switzerland. You will take a side and stand still. You define your terms of partnership right now. You stop saying whatever you want in relationship. You know your needs. You learned your needs, and you're going to speak them, and you're going to speak up for yourself. No more people pleasing, no more performance, just real presence. That's what it is. And it also could bring some kind of uh, romantic relationship, but it could be somehow platonic at the beginning. It's not soft. It's not easy, but it's very, very true. Something maybe even holy. And then it could also bring in some kind of healing in your relationship, mending something. But it has to have a different base, the way you are actually relate to each other has to change, because otherwise you can't move forward. Um, so by the end, when Saturn going to leave from here, you're going to be more mature and more peaceful and more authentic. You will really know what you need and no longer fear partnership, no longer going to be people pleaser. You're going to have choices, and going to know the difference between your choices. All right, Scorpio rising sun and moon is going to happen in your sixth house, which is devotion and discipline, anything to do with sacrificing chaos for sacred order. For example, the sixth house, work, service, self habits, rental property, soulmate, daily routine, duty, healing, private hospitals, and your pets as well. So it's a purification fire. Your rituals must match your vision. Your lifestyle becomes your altar. Your body becomes your battlefield. It is anything to do with sacred awakening of your health. So you get a diagnosis or something flares up, a breakdown. Saturn forces discipline, and it says, all right, you know what? Area is going to actually push you to do urgent care, ER, hospital, and it says, okay, that's what it is right now, and you need to rebuild yourself because of, you got hurt, you get injured. You don't have to panic. Slowly but surely, don't miss a step, but you're going to rebuild yourself. It is also some kind of burnout becomes the catalyst. You worked, for example, non-stop, and you crash, and your nervous system is like revolts. It's like a flight and fight kind of situation. And you finally learn, okay, you know what? Rest is also sacred worth. And if I rest more, I'm going to be capable to bring more on the table. For example, your daily habits also going to change. You're going to destroy old routines, right? And there will be some kind of sacred hygiene, devotion, some kind of discipline movement right now. Rituals. Saturn is really rituals as well. It's also, in the sixth house could be like your eating habit. You're going to do intermittent fasting or fasting every month, every Monday, something like that. Uh, it could be also you stop selling your labor to the highest bidder. It is like, okay, you know what? What does my soul really serve? Okay, it has to align with my morals and values. I have to keep my integrity. You become actually a spiritual warrior, something who is, merge mysticism actually with knowledge over here. It could be like, all right, I'm a healer, but I also going to a doctor, but I also going to maybe study herbalism or astroherbalism, and I'm going to put in my psychology practice astrology as well, or something to do with Reiki. Uh, Also, it could be okay, I need to heal, but before I heal, I've always been a helper, a fixer, a martyr, and right now the healing is coming from saying no, saying no more. And, saying no actually is liberation. I remember the very first time when I said no, I was shaking because I have a Pisces sun, and I never, until my 42nd birthday, when a lot of planet went into Aries by progression, I never said no. I always pleased everyone. Oh my God, I live my life just to have people to love me, and all my personal things was behind. It was terrible. So this is for you guys. It's a liberation. Okay. You demand respect for yourself. Your labor becomes sacred, okay? And it's going to have more value. And you can also actually leave your job if it is toxic, or if your boss is someone, or your tenant, or your landlord is someone who is toxic or manipulative, you are leaving. If you are underpaid, you done, because Saturn brings clarity. Saturn is Aries is courage, and you are ready to quit. You start over, you rise. If you have any kind of chronic issues right now, you go into inflammation, exhaustion, autoimmune symptoms, you realize your illness is actually somehow is not being treated the way it's supposed to, and you're going to start a new therapy. Anything to do with a little bit faster moves. Maybe you want to. It could be like red light therapy or dancing or sweat lodge, things like that could be really helpful during this time. And also, it could be really great for you, the guys, because Saturn rewards consistency. So it has to be, rituals. For example, I don't know, maybe, like, okay, doing breath work every day, meditate every day, doing my 1 hour dance class in the morning, just make sure it's regular, it's every single day. That's what Saturn loves. It is almost you are the highest high priestess, in tarot card over here. So the routine, and it brings in later on honor and satisfaction. The warrior is rising because of you have some kind of sacred discipline, right? You are devoted. I always say, like the Namyaho Renge Kyo in Buddhism, in Nichiren Buddhism, actually the Nam is the devotion over here. I'm devoted actually to say and to chant every single day, which is going to bring change in my life. All right, so you don't burn out, you burn actually pure during this time. Saturn in Aries for Sagittarius, rising, sun and moon, my fellow Sagittarian. I am a Sagittarius rising person, and it's going to happen in our fifth house, all right? So there is some kind of sacred joy, but it must be earned, something to do with creativity as ritual and not necessarily creativity as performance. So, the fifth house is the domain of pleasure, passion, creativity, anything to do with romance, children, personal expression, winning. It is the soul playground. And this is your soul playground, which is going to become your temple as well. Fun must be purposeful. Art must have bones. Love must have fire and spine. It is not just romance. It is not just like, all right, I have a lover, a mistress, someone like that. It has to be more like regular, and it's not like going on a one night stand every night. It is romance. It is the love what comes in, what could become permanent in your life later on. It could also come some kind of creative blocks, but the creative blocks, because of Aries is really pushy, Mars is really pushy, and it's going to become and turn out to be a masterpiece. So, for example, the muse disappears, all right? What once flowed now shatters and it stutters. And Saturn over here says, build without inspiration. Aries going to say push it through, push it real good. Like it's like a labor. It's a very, very heavy and long labor. You emerge with a creative body of work forged by sweat, but not by sparks. And pleasure is not longer an escapism. It is not an addiction. Um, it doesn't need, you're not gonna need attention and validation from other people. You going to stop chasing the highs, and you're going to start seeking for meaning and meaningful relationship. Joy going to become devotional and not a dopamine. Parenthood could be really become a spiritual labor over here. A child could enter your life either biologically or karmically, or you can actually adopt during this time. Your identity as a parent is going to be tested. You become actually the protector, the guide, the flame holder for your children. And your romantic life is going to get real. The casual turns cold. The flings don't work anymore. It's going to bring in karmic lovers. And Aries is going to test the compatibility through fire, through fights. You want more than chemistry. You want kind of purpose and mission together with your loved one. And you can also build a creative legacy. So, you're going to stop dabbling. You commit to your art, your performance, your message, to write a book. Your passion become your profession, actually, and your gift going to become offering. You're going to reclaim joy, and actually something from childhood trauma, maybe, Saturn going to make you to revisit your inner child fears, and Aries is going to help you to reclaim that kind of fire. You can become the safe parent your young self needed. Um, you know, Obviously, it's also like, you say no to performing in love, and it could be something to do with you're not going to be the pleaser anymore or show off, and you're going to express yourself in an authentic way. You are belong right now from something or someone, and your art actually could become political and really powerful as well. You going to stop creating for the likes, right? You're going to create to be heard, to be seen. Not for decoration, it's going to become a sword of your voice. And you're going to have passion with purpose. It's not going to be chaotic with a lot of chemistry and confusion. It's going to be something to do with mission, and it's going to have a deep foundation. And you are the crowned creative warriors. Your light no longer flickers, it commands. Your creativity gonna have clarity. You become actually the fighter, the leader, not the entertainment, and not just for entertainment, but to transform others with your voice. All right, Capricorn rising sun and moon, it's going to happen in your fourth house, which is anything to do with an ancestral home must burn to be rebuilt. rooting into fire and not fear. Fourth was anything to do with your foundation, home, family roots, ancestry, emotional safety, inner identity. It is your living situation, real estate. It is also ending and death as well. This is the soul, where the soul actually origins, okay? The place you came from is being shaken, your inner child. The ancestral memory and private life are about to be remade, and it's going to be rise like phoenix in a fire remade. And it's also the flame in your family to keep everybody warm, anything to do with family conflict. And it's going to force you to mature emotionally. Argument can erupt with parents, children, or anything to do with chosen family. And Saturn going to revolve any kind of buried resentment, and Aries going to demand confrontation. You stop avoiding, you start actually owning your voice. Childhood trauma rises for healing. You are triggered by old wounds, abandonment, abuse, neglect. Saturn doesn't let you bypass it. Aries give you the courage to face it. You do the inner child work. You reparent yourself, actually. It could also bring in, death of an authority figure, a father or mother figure, obviously, or grandparent figure. Also, the physical home becomes some kind of, temper. You move, you evicted, you renovate. Your home becomes your war zone, but also then you find something new which is going to reflect your soul, and you're going to realign with that, and it's going to become your temple. uh, you cleanse your home, your families, and also ancestor patterns demand some kind of work over here, anything to do with fears, and anything to do with maybe even hidden masculinity going to get exposed. Or you become the one who says it ends with me. You can study your ancestry, or you can do that kind of ancestry test as well. Want to know where are you coming from, and whatever no longer serves you, you just let it go. It could be also, as I said, some kind of grief, and someone who is a caregiver, or it's going to force you to become a caregiver for a family member. It is teaches you sacred duty, and Saturn shows you mortality, and you can grow into an elder if your parents dies, and you are going to be the legacy holder. Uh, you don't trust anyone. You never really feel safe when it's in your fourth house. It is okay. You need to build that safety for yourself if you don't feel safe anymore. So you stop waiting for security. You're going to be the one who provides security for others. And it could be also, to do like family or housemates or children can cross the lines and you explode, and then you create some kind of clear, consistent boundaries and rules. And there is going to enforce it. Also, it could be something to do with choosing some kind of fond family over blood. It could be the biological roots feel more like a chain and addiction, or a lot of resentment and pain over there, and you want to make peace with yourself, so you are just going to choose your own tribes, and it doesn't have to be blood. um, and then also it could be something to do with the sacred fire in the heart. It could be also like you're going to have actually you build some kind of fireplace in the house or chimney or whatever. It could be like that. But it is also like to have an altar, or to have some kind of place where you can invite people to pray and do some kind of fire ceremonies. Or this could be like your house becomes temple for others, right? And also it could be like by end of this transit, you're going to become the root for others. You're going to anchor people, and you create your own family. So it's almost like you no longer chase home. You are home. You are home for others. Okay, Saturn in Aries for Aquarius, rising sun and moon is going to happen in your third house. You know, burn the script, speak your own. You know, anything to do with thought, language, and sibling is under fire, guys. The third house is communication. It is the space of thoughts, media, siblings, neighborhood, newspaper, perception, and relatives. And also it is also like your workshops and what you are teaching, journaling, and the mind is a weapon or a curse. You have to know that your words become swords. This is a fire forged rewrite of how you think, speak, and connect with others. There could be some kind of mental burnout, and it's going to force you to discipline. So, for example, your mind races. It is a spiral, information overload, and Saturn going to set contain the storm. Aries says cut through the noise. You create a mental hygiene ritual, meditation, journaling, silence. You're going to withdraw yourself from news. Your speech going to become really sacred. You no longer waste words. You speak when it matters. Every sentence is fire. Every truth cuts clean. You know, also old sibling rival is resurfaced. Passive aggressive becomes direct confrontation. You stop playing roles. You say what you never said. You break the pattern. Also, anything to do with your neighborhood, it's going to change. You move or you feel unsafe. You build new relationship or take up space with more authority. Saturn makes you a pillar. Aries make you loud. And you stop over posting, for example, on social media. You know, you're going to have more strategic messaging, and it's not going to be some kind of scattered writing or impulsive. You craft, you edit, you deliver truth with punch. Saturn turns you into a communicator of consequences, right? And also, you can enroll in courses, learn a new language, study a new system. It transforms your mind. You become a warrior of scholar. You teach with fire, guys. So also, it could be like saying the hard things. You confront your friends or your siblings, or you write the letter. You speak the truth in public in your neighborhood. Your throat could shake, your voice can shake, but you do it anyway because, you know, Saturn, Aries actually is initiate, and Saturn is like, okay, I'm here and I'm gonna stand still and I do it anyway. Discipline. So it could be also some kind of digital detox, you know, it's too much noise. Or maybe you get sick and you don't want EMF around you. It was too much scrolling. You delete TikTok and those stupid little apps, and you unfollow drama, and you just simplify your word and your digital word as well, and you guard yourself because you know your time and space is sacred. And definitely, it could be like going to get rid of a lot of neighbors, unnecessarily drama in neighborhood with siblings, with relative. Um, it could be also you begin therapy, anything to do with some kind of practices, which is, you know, if you are younger, maybe tutoring or get a tutor or you know, rewire the way you connect with others or also the way you learn. Um, it is you are not a victim, all right, and you know you are not a victim anymore, so that's going to be really really important. And you are a rebel right now. Your voice, you are a sacred rebel by the end, you know, because of this transit is going to get rid of everything that no longer you know, like need it in your life. Actually, you are no longer a passive observer. You are someone who speaks, who writes, who teaches. And you're not going to do that to impress others, but to impact others. And that is very, very important because you become the voice of the fire others are afraid to name. All right. And last but not least, my fellow Pisces rising, sun and moons, it's going to happen in your second house. You know, it is to burn the scarcity spell, rebuild worth from ashes, because second house actually is the territory of money, values, possessions, self-worth, survivor needs. That is the gift, actually, sacred gift within. That is the food what you eat. It is not just about income. This is actually a soul deep exorcism of poverty mindset, self-abandonment, and inherited scarcity spells. Aries arrives to burn illusion. Saturn demands structure. What you earn now, you become. And it's going to actually help your self growth and your self image, self worth. There could be some kind of financial reality can hit hard at the beginning, something, suddenly your budget doesn't work, income dries up, bills hit. Saturn demands discipline over here, and Aries going to demand action. So you stop drifting, you get strategic, and you rise. Also, you have tied your value to other people approval, all right? And then no, Saturn strips away applause. Aries hands you a mirror and you start investing in your own opinion and in yourself. You're going to take courses and maybe financial courses, and how to invest, and it's going to be very valuable. Selling your soul going to become unbearable because whatever you have done for work, for crumbs, it is like, okay, I'm done pretending to care. You either going to work away or you're going to burn out. So it's working away. It's a good possibility because you have to build something stronger. And not for performance. And also, it could be like you can become a minimalist as well. So you're going to sell a lot of clutter and leave clutters behind, or going to marketplace and sell it, and your value going to become internal. Your space going to become really, really sacred as well, and you're going to detach from material things. Um, Also, it could be some kind of old stories going to emerge. Money is evil, money is the root of the evil, I'm not worthy, some kind of childhood bologna. Money doesn't, grow on trees, what your parents said. And it is ancestral traumas, or past life experience. And you rewriting and rewiring your brain, and you reclaim your self-worth, and you rise. And it is something to do. You speak, you coach, you teach, you sell your wisdom. It's hard at first because rejection could come, and rejection actually hurt, but you keep going and it works somehow. And your voice going to become actually the stream of one revenue for you. And also, it could be something to do with wealth activation during this time. You can have like you're going to put money away for traveling, or the Venmo pay, whatever comes from Venmo, it is traveling for us. Whatever comes through PayPal, it is paying the house or the cars of earlier than we supposed to, kind of situation. So it's going to be really, really strategic as well. And also the way it could be also some kind of healing with nutrition, because of second house, everything what you eat, you can start actually fasting. Maybe you have some kind of terminal illness, and they say, okay, do the master cleanse, the 3 weeks, 21 days, and you only have maple syrup and lemon juice, and do that, and you're going to get healed. You stop waiting to be discovered. You build, you actually charge, you protect your time, and your time is going to worth like gold. And actually it is, guys. I'm not saying, I always have people being a Pisces sun, and many times I realize, oh my God, how much time I gave away for people, and nothing in return. And I just gonna say no. And also it's very, very important actually to defining what you truly value. And not what your parents told you or what the society told you. You burn every borrowed value. Then you choose. This is mine, this is sacred, and that's what it is. Very important. And values, morals going to change, and I'm gonna stick with it because Saturn is sticking with it. And by the end, you turned fear into fuel. uh, you know, Anything to do with leadership. If you lacked in leadership right now, you're going to become actually a leader with wisdom, not with loud voices. But you don't need riches to feel rich. You're going to realize that you are grounded actually in your values. You're not going to compare yourself anymore, who has what they have, or what is my age or what I become yet. It is just like you going to trust yourself and trust your journey. So this is very important, guys. All right, I think it's also become a very, very long video, guys. But thank you so much to being here with me always, and to comment below. And my regulars, I really value you. Every single people who are coming back commenting, I love to learn about you. And I promise I want to deliver an amazing, knowledgeable videos for you all the time. So please share that with your siblings, with your neighbors, with your family, with your colleagues, anyone who can actually value my guidance and who can learn from it. And I appreciate that. And I'm going to see you soon with another video, and I'm gonna try to do 2 videos a week. I will see how is it gonna work. But I'm also doing shorts. You can see that, and I'm also writing. So I'm posting my writing as well. You can buy my Karma workshop, and you can also reach out to buy actually my palmistry and face diagnosis classes. And as I said, I'm coming up in April. I'm teaching, and I'm going to record the healing, the medical astrology and astroherbalism 20 hour with also over 250 pages of PDF, which is also gonna become a book as well. And reach out if you can help any way, or if you can offer, recommend me someone who can form it, or who can just if you want to work behind the scene or something like that. I would appreciate that. Thank you so much. Bye for now.